Hey everyone! Most of you watching aren't subscribed. If you haven't yet, please smash that subscribe button so that we can hit 1,000 subs together. Let's do this. I usually don't go for the whole spiritual or vibes thing. Honestly, I'm more of a grab a burger and watch a movie type. But then I matched with her, let's call her Maya. Right away, she came off as kinda quirky. Like she had this offbeat energy that was actually kinda charming. Her profile was full of weird little quotes about the universe and healing and all that stuff, and she had photos of herself with crystals and candles. I wasn't sure what to make of it, but I thought, why not? Life's too boring otherwise. We started texting, and she was way more chill than I expected. Not the usual, hey, what's up stuff, but more thoughtful, you know? Like she wanted to talk about how life was more than just the daily grind. I'll admit, it was kinda refreshing. After a week or so, we decided to meet up. It was just coffee, nothing intense. The date was, interesting. She talked a lot about energy and how people carry around all this unseen stuff that weighs them down. I mostly nodded along, not really knowing what to say, but trying to stay open-minded. She wasn't annoying or pushy, just really into her world. After a couple hours, we parted ways, and I thought, okay, that was cool, but probably not going anywhere serious. Then, out of nowhere, she invited me to what she called a healing session. I thought it was some kind of meditation thing or a small group meetup. Figured, why not? It sounded different, and I was curious. The night of the session, I showed up at this old warehouse-looking building on the edge of town. The street was kinda empty, the kind of place you don't usually go to unless you know someone. I hesitated for a second, wondering if I'd made a mistake, but I texted her that I was there, and she told me to come in. Inside, it was dimly lit, with candles lining the walls and incense burning somewhere in the background. There was a faint smell of sandalwood, or something earthy. I saw Maya waiting for me, looking calm and a little mysterious in this long, flowing dress. She motioned me to follow her down a narrow hallway to a bigger room at the back. That's when I saw them. A group of people, all wearing these plain, white masks that covered their whole faces. They stood in a circle, their hands folded in front of them. The vibe shifted from chill to straight-up eerie. Maya told me to stand in the middle of the circle. I was starting to feel the first hints of panic, but I figured maybe this was some kind of ritual, like a guided meditation or something symbolic. Then the chanting started. It wasn't just random noises or sounds. They were chanting my name, over and over. It echoed off the walls, low and steady but intense. The way they said it felt less like a friendly welcome and more like they were summoning something. She told me I was the vessel. The vessel for what I didn't know. I wanted to ask questions, but my voice felt stuck somewhere in my throat. The masked people moved slowly around me, their heads tilting slightly as if watching my every move. The chanting got louder, more insistent. I felt like I was trapped in some weird dream I couldn't wake up from. My skin prickled, and I could feel my heartbeat in my ears. At one point, Maya came up close and put her hand lightly on my shoulder. She whispered something about unlocking the energy and embracing the power inside. I didn't really get what she meant, but I felt caught between being curious and totally freaked out. After what felt like forever, the chanting stopped suddenly. The masks dropped. Faces I didn't recognize stared at me, smiling quietly. No one said a word. The silence was almost worse than the noise. Maya then told me the session was over, but she said I needed to come back. She said there was more to unlock, and that this was just the beginning. I tried to laugh it off, but the truth was, I was unnerved. My head was spinning, and my stomach felt twisted. I left that place feeling weirdly shaken. For days after, I kept replaying everything in my head, the masks, the chanting, her calling me the vessel. I started noticing little things, like how Maya's text got more intense, more urgent. She'd send me photos of her with the group, always with that same mysterious vibe. I told myself it was all harmless, maybe just some performance art, or an elaborate meditation group. But then, Strange things started happening. My phone would ring late at night, but no one was there. Sometimes I'd get messages from unknown numbers with just one word, vessel. One night, I went to text her, asking if she was serious about this whole vessel thing, but when I looked at her profile, it was gone, deleted. No explanation, no goodbye. I tried calling her, but no answer. I even went back to that warehouse, hoping maybe someone could tell me what was going on. The building was empty, boarded up like it had been abandoned for years. It felt like I'd fallen through some kind of crack in reality. For weeks, I was caught between wanting to forget the whole thing and wanting to understand what the hell I'd gotten involved in. I checked my phone obsessively, half expecting the masked group to contact me again. Eventually, I started noticing other things too, my friend said. I was acting strange, distracted, like I was carrying some invisible weight. Honestly, I couldn't explain it myself. I felt like a part of me had been taken, or maybe planted. I never went on another date with Maya, and I never met those masked people again. But sometimes, when I'm alone at night, I swear I can hear faint chanting coming from somewhere outside. And I still don't know what it means to be the vessel, but I'm pretty sure I don't want to find out. I wasn't really looking for anything serious when I started swiping on that app. You know how it is, just messing around, maybe meeting someone cool, maybe not. Then I matched with this guy, Jake. At first, he seemed pretty normal. His profile was nothing wild, just photos of him at the beach, hanging out with friends, and a couple of shots with his dog. Nothing to freak out about. We started chatting, and honestly, it was one of the easiest conversations I'd had on there. We joked about silly stuff, talked about music and movies, and it just felt natural. Like we could talk for hours without it getting awkward. We even planned to meet up for coffee one weekend. It was low-key and casual, nothing big, just two people getting to know each other. Everything was going great for a few weeks. We texted every day, and I felt like I was finally connecting with someone who wasn't just playing games or looking for a quick thing. He was thoughtful, funny, and pretty chill. I liked that. Then, one afternoon, I was scrolling through his Instagram. I don't know why, maybe curiosity or just trying to feel closer to him, since we hadn't met yet. I clicked on one of his recent posts. It was a picture of him with his family at some barbecue or something. That's when I saw her. Standing right next to him was his sister. Except, she looked exactly like me. Not like just similar or, oh, they have the same hair color. I mean, it was like looking in a mirror. Same face shape, same eyes, same smile, everything. For a moment, I thought maybe I was seeing double or my phone was glitching. But no, it was definitely her. I couldn't stop staring at that photo. How was this even possible? What were the chances that his sister looked like me? It didn't feel like coincidence. It felt off. Weird in a way I couldn't put my finger on. I showed the picture to my best friend, and she thought it was strange too. She told me to ask Jake about it, but honestly, I was already nervous. What if I was overreacting? What if I was making something out of nothing? Still, I needed to know. So I asked him about it. I told him I'd seen the photo and that his sister looked a lot like me. He just said it wasn't weird and that it was fate. Fate. That's what he called it. At first, I laughed it off. Maybe he was joking, trying to sound romantic or mysterious. But the more I thought about it, the more it creeped me out. It wasn't just a passing comment. He said it like it was the most normal thing in the world, like we were connected by some cosmic coincidence that went beyond chance. After that, things started to feel different. The easy, casual vibe disappeared. He became more intense, more fixated. Whenever I brought up his sister or the photo, he'd brush it off, but his eyes would kind of light up in this weird way that didn't feel good. Then one day, he sent me a message with an old family photo. It was from when he was a kid, and there was a little girl sitting next to him. I looked closely. It was his sister again, and she looked like a tiny version of me. Same eyes, same expression. But here's the thing. The photo was from years before I even met Jake or even swiped on that app. That's when I started wondering if this was just a coincidence or something else. Was it just a crazy fluke, or was there something more to it? I couldn't stop thinking about that sister of his. I wanted to know if she knew about me, or if Jake had told her about me. It felt like there was this invisible thread tying us together, but I didn't want to be tied to something creepy or dangerous. When we finally met up, I tried to keep my cool, but it was hard. Jake seemed nervous, like he was holding something back. I wanted to ask him more about his family, his sister, but every time I tried, he'd change the subject or get quiet. The more I got to know him, the more uncomfortable I felt. There were little things he did, like calling me by his sister's nickname sometimes, or bringing up stories that sounded too personal, like he knew more about me than I'd told him. It all started adding up to something weird, something I couldn't ignore. One night, I decided to do some digging. I looked up his sister online. Her social profiles were private, but a few pictures popped up here and there. And yeah, she looked just like me. But the strangest part? Some of the photos had comments that mentioned how she was the spitting image of someone famous or someone else. I kept going deeper and found an old news article about the family. Apparently, Jake and his sister had a cousin who looked just like them too. It was a family thing, a weird genetic quirk or something. That explained a little, but it didn't explain why Jake kept acting so weird about it, or why he talked about fate like it was some kind of destiny that connected us. After that, I started pulling back. I stopped texting him as much and made excuses to avoid hanging out. But every time I tried to end things, he'd say it was fate, that we were meant to be, and that nothing could change that. It got to the point where I felt like I was caught in this messed up story, where a guy was obsessed with me not just as a person, but because I looked like his sister, like I was part of some twisted plan I didn't understand. I never told anyone else about it. It felt too strange, like no one would believe me, or maybe think I was exaggerating. But I stopped seeing Jake altogether. I deleted the app, changed my number, and tried to move on. The whole thing still bugs me sometimes. I'll catch a glimpse of someone in a crowd who looks like me, and I wonder if Jake's there too, watching, or if I'm stuck being someone else's fate whether I like it or not. It's one of those stories you don't want to believe, but it happened. And, honestly, I'm just glad I got out before it got worse. So, this whole thing started when I got a notification that someone super liked me on the app. I'd never really paid attention to super likes before. They always felt a bit extra, like someone was trying too hard. But this one was different. The profile picture was pretty normal. Just a girl smiling in a park. Nothing weird or flashy. Right away, she started messaging me not just a "hey" or "what's up," but a bunch of messages one after another. It was like she was desperate to get my attention. She called me my twin flame in the very first message. I honestly had no clue what to make of that. It sounded intense for someone I'd never talked to before. At first, I just ignored it. I wasn't looking for anything serious, and honestly, it was a little off-putting. But then she kept sending messages, dozens of them every day, flooding my inbox. It wasn't just texts either. She sent voice notes that were way too long, and sometimes little videos where she'd stare at the camera and smile like she was waiting for me to say something. I didn't reply much. I mean, I felt bad. It's hard to just ignore someone completely, but I wasn't interested. I wasn't ready for whatever she was expecting. But every time I left her on read, the messages didn't slow down. They only got more intense. The twin flame thing kept coming up, and she said stuff about us being meant to be or connected beyond time. At first, I thought maybe she was just really into astrology or something, but it didn't feel normal. It felt obsessive, like she had made me the center of her world out of nowhere. A week passed, and she still hadn't stopped. Then, the messages took a darker turn. One day, I opened my phone, and there were videos. The first one was her crying real tears, shaky voice, begging for me to just talk to her. The second video came an hour later. She was laughing, but it wasn't happy laughing. It was weird, like she was mocking herself, or maybe even me. After that, the videos kept coming. Sometimes she'd be crying. Other times, smiling or laughing with this strange look in her eyes that made me feel uncomfortable. I didn't know if she was unstable or just playing some kind of twisted game. The whole thing freaked me out. I stopped replying completely, hoping she'd get the message. But it didn't work. Instead, the videos started to include messages that felt threatening without being direct. Like she'd say she was waiting for me, or that no one gets between twin flames, while the camera zoomed in on her face, making it feel way too personal and intense. One night, I woke up to my phone buzzing non-stop. It was her again. This time, she sent a video that was just her sitting in a dark room. She didn't say anything, just stared at the camera, blinking slowly. The silence was scarier than any words could be. I decided to block her on the app and every social media I could find. But she somehow kept finding new ways to contact me. She had my number from somewhere. Maybe I shared it accidentally, or it was on one of my profiles and she started texting me there too. Same weird videos, same creepy messages. It wasn't just annoying anymore. I was starting to feel unsafe. I told a few friends about it, but they just said I should block and ignore her and that she'd get bored eventually. But this didn't feel like boredom. It felt like something else, something deeper and darker, like she wanted to control me or scare me. One night, I noticed she was sending me videos at the exact same time every day too, 17 a.m. It was like she was marking time or watching me somehow. The videos got more disturbing too. She'd hold up signs with weird messages or write things on her arms. Sometimes she'd whisper my name, but in a way that was creepy, like she was barely holding herself together. I started checking my phone less, trying to stay away from it. But she would send videos to my email, or even upload them to private channels that I'd find links to in the messages. It was like no matter what I did, she was always one step ahead. I tried reporting her to the app, but the support just sent back generic answers saying they take harassment seriously and would look into it. Nothing ever changed. She just kept coming back with new accounts, new profiles, and new videos. Eventually, I stopped answering calls and even considered changing my number. I was scared to leave my phone out because sometimes I'd find videos waiting for me as soon as I unlocked it, even if I hadn't opened any apps. The whole thing lasted months. It felt like I was trapped in this nightmare, where one girl was obsessed with me to a terrifying degree, calling me her twin flame and refusing to back off no matter how many times I tried to cut her out of my life. I don't know what she wanted from me. Maybe she thought we were connected in some cosmic way. Maybe she was just lonely or broken. But the way she switched between crying and laughing in those videos was the worst part, like she was battling something inside herself and pulling me into it. Now, I'm super careful about who I match with or respond to. I double-check every message before opening it. And if someone acts a little too intense, too fast, I block them immediately. It's crazy to think a simple swipe on a dating app could lead to something this disturbing. The whole thing left me on edge for months. And honestly, sometimes I still check my phone with a little fear. Because once you get caught in something like that, it doesn't just disappear. It just lingers. I never imagined that something as simple as matching with someone on a dating app could turn into this nightmare. Honestly, at first, Erin seemed pretty normal. Her profile wasn't overloaded with flashy pictures or cheesy lines. She had a few photos, one at a cafe, another by a city fountain, and one where she was laughing with friends. The usual stuff. We matched late one night when I was half asleep, just swiping because why not? She messaged me first, which was rare, and we started talking. At first, everything was fine. We talked about music, movies, our jobs, and the usual small talk that you have when you're just getting to know someone. But then I started getting this weird feeling, this nagging doubt in the back of my head. It wasn't anything obvious. She wasn't acting strange, didn't avoid questions or give robotic answers. But something about the way she responded too quick, a little too perfect, made me suspicious. I began thinking maybe she was a bot, or part of some prank. You hear about that stuff all the time. Fake profiles created for laughs, experiments, scams. But Erin? She never slipped up. Her answers felt human, casual, and sometimes even a little messy. Like when she told me about burning her dinner or messing up at work. Still, The thought wouldn't leave me alone. I kept wondering if this was some elaborate joke or a social experiment. Eventually, after a few weeks of chatting, we decided to meet in person. I was nervous, partly because of that lingering doubt. What if she wasn't real? What if this was some weird trap? But I also wanted to prove to myself that she was real, and that I wasn't just paranoid. We met at a small coffee shop in town, a place I liked for its quiet atmosphere and bad but charming espresso. Erin arrived right on time, smiling and looking exactly like her pictures. We talked face to face, and for a little while, I convinced myself that maybe I was overthinking it. But the doubt didn't go away. After the meeting, I started obsessing over every little detail. The way she smiled felt rehearsed, like she was acting. Her laugh sounded a little too perfect, almost like a sound effect you'd hear in a sitcom. I convinced myself that Erin wasn't just some normal person, that she was part of something bigger, something I couldn't quite put my finger on. I started researching government experiments, mind control, surveillance programs. You know, the stuff people usually joke about, but sometimes actually do. I scrolled through forums, watched videos about psychological experiments and secret projects. I convinced myself that Erin was part of one of those experiments, that she was testing how people respond to AI or surveillance in dating apps. The more I thought about it, the more real it felt. I started keeping tabs on her social media profiles, piecing together every detail. Her Instagram seemed real, with photos from years ago and comments from friends, but I kept finding tiny inconsistencies, dates that didn't line up, friends who seemed to disappear, photos that looked a little too staged. It wasn't proof, but it fed the paranoia. I started showing up near places she said she'd be. I convinced myself I was just watching, trying to gather evidence to expose the truth. I'd stand outside the coffee shop, waiting for her to arrive or leave. Sometimes I'd follow her on foot or by car, trying not to get noticed. It wasn't like I was stalking for some creepy reason, at least. Not at first. It was all about finding answers. One night, I went to her apartment building. It was a quiet street, not busy at all. I waited across the street for hours, watching her door. The whole time, I was thinking maybe I'd finally catch her slipping, find some proof she wasn't who she said she was. But she never did. Instead, I started noticing strange things happening to me. My phone would die randomly. Texts wouldn't send. I kept seeing unfamiliar faces in places I'd never been. The paranoia twisted into fear. What if they knew I was onto them? What if I was the one being watched? I stopped talking to Erin after that. I couldn't. Every message felt like it was scripted or controlled. The person I thought I was meeting wasn't real anymore. At least, not the way I wanted her to be. The last time I saw her was at a grocery store. I followed her in, trying not to be obvious. She turned around suddenly and caught my eye. I swear, for a moment, her expression flickered not surprise or anger, but something cold and distant, like she wasn't really there. It freaked me out so much I left right after. After that, I blocked her on everything, deleted the app. I even changed my phone number and email. But the feeling never went away. The fear that maybe Erin was never real, that I was just a subject in some experiment, that there was something sinister behind this whole thing. It's been months now, and I still get moments where I wonder if I'm being watched. Sometimes I catch myself looking over my shoulder or jumping at a noise. I don't know if Erin was really part of a government experiment, or if I just lost my grip on reality. All I know is that what started as a simple match on a dating app turned into the most disturbing thing I've ever experienced. No big reveal, no crazy finale, just a mess of doubt and fear that I can't shake. And the one thing I'm sure of, I'll never be able to trust those apps the same way again. This whole thing started with what I thought was just a bug, like an actual glitch in the app. I was using this smaller dating app, not one of the huge ones, but one of those that tries to act different with some sleek, minimalist design and quirky conversation starters. I'd only been on it for maybe a few weeks. Matched with a few people, talked to some, nothing too serious. It felt pretty average, kinda quiet, but chill. Then one night I matched with this woman named Laura. She seemed cool. One of her pictures was at a record store, another with her dog hanging out of a car window. We were just getting into the small talk part of chatting jobs, music, random weekend stuff when she suddenly said something that stopped me cold. She said, "By the way, your profile shows your location as my street name." She typed the actual street name. Like the real one. My actual street. The one I live on. Not the city or neighborhood. The street. At first, I just stared at the message. I thought maybe it was just a lucky guess. Or some glitch. Maybe the app was showing her a local street randomly? But no, she said it shows up when we match. She didn't sound creeped out though. More like she assumed I was just one of those people who puts their neighborhood or street name in their profile on purpose. I hadn't. I double-checked just to be sure. My profile only had basic info. Name, city, job, some dumb quote about iced coffee and sleep schedules. No address. No clues. I didn't know what to say back, so I just played it off. Said something like, "Huh, weird," and changed the subject. But in my head, I was freaking out a little. I went to look at my profile from another account and tried to recreate what she saw. I couldn't see anything off. It didn't say my street. It didn't even narrow it down to my exact part of the city. But after that, it started happening more. Over the next week, I matched with 3 other women. 2 of them said the same thing almost word for word. They said my location was super specific, not just city or zip code. One said it showed the name of the complex I lived in. Another said it showed my block, like it was labeled in the app. Every time I asked where they saw it, they said it popped up right after we matched, like it only appeared after we were connected. That's when I realized something was wrong. Like, not just glitchy wrong. This felt intentional. I deleted the app from my phone and reinstalled it, changed the settings, turned off location access completely, then made a new account just to test it. But the weird thing was, even with location disabled and everything locked down, the same thing kept happening. Someone would match with me, and they'd tell me the profile showed my exact location again. It was like it was hard-coded into the profile somehow, not just pulled from GPS. It felt planted. So, I reached out to the app support team. Took forever to get a response. When they finally got back to me, they just gave the usual generic stuff. "Thanks for reaching out. We take privacy seriously. Please check your settings. No real help." They acted like I was confused or making it up, said it was probably a local setting or a cache issue, which didn't explain why other people were seeing information. I never entered into my profile. I started digging into it myself. I looked up posts and forums to see if anyone else had reported this. I found maybe 2 other people who mentioned something similar, random details showing up in their profiles that they didn't add. One guy said his phone number had shown up in his dating profile bio even though he never typed it in. Another said her private Instagram got linked without her permission. So I started wondering, what if someone got into my account? I checked all my connected accounts, email, phone number, even my social logins. Everything seemed fine. No new devices, no alerts, no weird logins. But something felt off. Almost like someone wasn't in my account but behind it. Like underneath it. I ended up creating a brand new email, new number, everything. I made a totally separate profile with different photos and waited. Matched with someone after a day or 2. Just casual chatting. And guess what? Same thing. They said my profile was showing the same area. Same street. I hadn't even entered that city on this new account. I hadn't even enabled location at all. That's when it really hit me. It wasn't a glitch. Someone had planted it into my account. Multiple accounts. Maybe linked to my IP, or my phone ID, or something deeper I didn't understand. And the worst part? I had no idea why. I never sent money to anyone. Never shared passwords or personal stuff. Never gave out my address on the app or in messages. Nothing that would explain how someone could target me like that, or what they wanted from it. I ended up deleting everything. Wiped the apps, changed every password, factory reset my phone. Paranoid as hell. I didn't sleep well for a few nights. Kept thinking someone was watching me or waiting outside. I even got my router replaced and started using a VPN. I haven't used any dating apps since. Haven't had the nerve to try again. It messed with my head not just because it happened, but because no one believed it when I told them. People thought I was overthinking, or had bad settings, or was being dramatic. But I know what happened. I know what they said. I know someone used that app to leak my location to random people I matched with. I don't know who. I don't know why. But I haven't forgotten it, and I don't think I ever really will. It started how these things usually do. I was lying in bed one night, just aimlessly scrolling on a dating app. I wasn't looking for anything serious. Honestly, I was just bored and tired of watching the same videos on repeat. That weird mix of wanting connection but not wanting to put in much effort, you know? Then I matched with this guy named Theo. His profile wasn't overdone. No shirtless mirror selfies or motivational quotes. Just a couple of pictures, mostly him in coffee shops or walking around what looked like city streets, and a short, kind of awkward bio about liking weird podcasts and working in IT. Something about him seemed harmless, in a good way. I don't know. He just looked like someone you'd feel okay sitting next to on a long flight. We started chatting, and it was actually normal, which is rare. He was easy to talk to. Didn't reply with one-word answers or copy-paste lines. He was kind of funny, kind of weird, in a quiet way. He asked questions that felt genuine, not forced. And he didn't get creepy. That's the bar now, apparently. We talked for about a week. Nothing super deep. Just those everyday kinds of conversations that slowly build into something. He'd send photos of the random stuff he cooked, like sad-looking pancakes or a messed-up grilled cheese, and I'd rate them way too seriously. I even caught myself checking my phone more than usual, waiting for his replies. I didn't think I was into him that much, but I guess I kind of was. Then something weird happened. One of my friends from college texted me a screenshot out of nowhere. She was like, is this you? I opened it, and it was a dating app profile. My face, my pictures, even the same dog from one of my older posts. But the name was different. The bio was different, and the location wasn't even right. It said I lived 2 towns over. At first I thought it was just someone using my pics for catfishing or whatever. Happens more than people think. But then I saw the last photo in the set, one I'd never even posted online. It was a mirror selfie I'd taken like 6 months ago in a hotel bathroom, and I'd only ever sent it to one person. Theo. That's when it hit me. I searched the app myself, using a friend's account, and found the profile. Still up, still active, still getting likes. My name wasn't on it, but everything else was me. The photos, the vibe, even little phrases from old messages. It felt disgusting. Like I was looking at myself through a window I didn't know existed. I didn't really know how to react. I just sat there for a while trying to make sense of it. Then I messaged Theo. He answered quick, like way too fast. Almost like he was waiting for it. I told him I'd found the fake profile, that I knew it was him. And instead of denying it or making some lame excuse, he just said one thing. He said, "You owe me your beauty." No sarcasm, no joking tone, just that sentence. I actually read it 3 or 4 times because I couldn't believe that was real. What did that even mean? I asked him, but he never replied again, just left the chat on read and disappeared. A few hours later, the fake profile was gone, deleted completely, like it had never existed. But that wasn't the end of it. I started noticing weird stuff. Random follows on my Instagram from accounts with no photos, no posts, no names. My pictures were showing up on random meme pages and fake Pinterest boards. Someone had screen recorded a video of me talking about skincare on my story and posted it to TikTok with a different name and a fake voiceover. It wasn't viral or anything, but it was out there. I don't even know how he got some of this stuff. A few were from private accounts, ones that weren't even public. Either he screenshotted them while we were talking or had some kind of access I never noticed. I ended up locking everything down, deleted old posts, changed my email passwords, reported everything I could, but half of it didn't even violate the app's rules because technically they weren't using my name. I told a few people about it, but it was hard to explain without sounding dramatic. Most just said, "Yeah, people are weird, and moved on. But it didn't feel like regular weird. It felt calculated. Like someone trying to build a version of me that wasn't really me. One they could use however they wanted. I haven't seen Theo since. Don't know his real name. The app banned him eventually after I reported him, but that barely matters. If someone's determined enough, they'll always find a way to come back. With a new face, a new profile, a new target. And the worst part is, I still don't really understand why. He never asked for money, never asked to meet in person, never crossed any obvious lines while we were talking. It wasn't about getting something from me. It was like he just wanted to be near me, or own some part of me. And when he couldn't, he took what he could, the photos, the personality, the version of me that he liked, and made it his. Anyway, that's it. That's what happened. No big twist. No satisfying ending. Just this gross, lingering feeling that someone out there is still pretending to be me. And the worst part is, there's no way to know if it ever really stopped. So here's how it went down. No lesson at the end, no closure, just the story as it happened. It started out pretty normal. I'd been using dating apps for a while, nothing too serious. I worked remote tech support, so I had way too much time on my hands in the evenings, and scrolling through profiles just became something to do. I wasn't trying to fall in love or whatever, but I was open to seeing where things went. You know how it is, you talk to someone, maybe you vibe, maybe they ghost you after 2 days. I didn't expect much. Then I matched with this girl named Riley. Her profile was different, like, not just a bunch of selfies and vague foodie, traveler, dog mom kind of stuff. She had a video in there where she was just talking to the camera about how she hated pineapple on pizza and loved thunderstorms. Her voice was kind of soft but confident. She laughed at her own dumb joke about preferring winter over summer, and it felt real. I don't know how else to say it. It didn't feel like someone trying to look cool. It felt like a real person being goofy on camera. We started chatting and hit it off almost instantly. She was sharp, funny in a dry kind of way, and actually seemed to listen. Like she'd remember little things I said days later and bring them up in conversation. We talked about everything, movies, weird childhood stuff, the kinds of people we couldn't stand. She told me she was a freelance illustrator and sent me her Instagram, which was filled with these surreal digital paintings that were actually incredible. Like haunting and weird and kind of beautiful. She even sent me progress sketches sometimes, like she wanted me to be part of it. Eventually, we moved to video calls. At that point, I still had that default level of internet skepticism, but she looked and sounded exactly like her photos and videos. Same voice, same face, same mannerisms. The connection wasn't glitchy. Either it all looked smooth, like any other FaceTime with friends or coworkers. We talked late into the night, and I started looking forward to it every day. She'd show me her cat sleeping in weird spots, or complain about a client who wanted something edgy but not dark, whatever that means. After about a month of this, we started planning to meet in person. She lived in Portland. I was in Sacramento, so not that far. We figured we could do a weekend trip somewhere in the middle, maybe Redding or Ashland, just to test the waters. She said she'd drive down. We picked a date. I even booked an Airbnb for both of us. I was nervous, but in a good way. I genuinely liked her. Like, more than anyone I'd met in a long time. Then everything just stopped. I woke up one morning and noticed her profile picture was gone from our texts. Her name turned back into a phone number. Thought it was a glitch at first. Tried calling straight to voicemail. I went to check her Instagram deleted. Same with her art page. I checked the dating app profile, gone. Email bounced back. Gone, just gone. I honestly thought something had happened to her. I even called a hospital in Portland, thinking maybe she got into a wreck or something. Nothing. No info. I started losing it a little bit. I still had screenshots of her art, some of our chats, and even screen recordings from one of our calls where she was showing me her sketchbook. I started digging. I reverse image searched some of her old posts. Nothing came up. Her art? Turns out it was stolen from 3 different independent artists I found on Pinterest and Behance. I messaged them. None of them knew who I was talking about. One of them said this wasn't the first time someone had used her work like that. That's when I realized the whole thing had been fake. I couldn't let it go, though. I got a friend of mine who's way more tech-savvy than I am to help me dig deeper. He found the dating app account was tied to a VoIP number and that the calls were likely rerouted through some kind of server. Basically, someone had set this whole thing up carefully. And the video calls? He said it was probably a deepfake. There's software now that can take a bunch of photos and video clips and create a face that moves and talks in real time. Apparently, it's not even that complicated anymore, if you know what you're doing. So, I started thinking back. There were a few weird things, like how she'd always call with her camera angled just slightly off. Never moved around much. Lighting was always kind of flat. I'd chalked it up to her just being chill. Turns out it was probably to hide glitches in the fake. Eventually, my friend found a forum post that mentioned this exact kind of scam people using deepfakes to build fake relationships, usually to get money. But here's the weird part. I never gave her a cent. She never asked. Not once. I even offered once to Venmo her for lunch when she said she was having a rough day and she refused. So what was the point? That's what messed me up the most. I don't know what they got out of it. Was it some kind of experiment? A test run for something bigger? Just a group of people bored enough to play with strangers' emotions for fun? I'll never know. I kept the Airbnb reservation. I don't know why. I guess part of me wanted to go, just in case there was some chance she'd show up and tell me it was all some dumb misunderstanding. I didn't go, though. I canceled it the day before and just sat around the apartment drinking and watching old videos on my phone. I still had one clip of her, whoever she was, pretending to be laughing at something I said. It felt real, looked real, sounded real, but it wasn't. And that's it. No ending, no justice. Just someone disappearing like they were never there, and me sitting there with nothing but a few fake memories, wondering what was real and what was part of the act. It still messes with me. Not because I was heartbroken or anything. It wasn't love, but it felt real. And that's the part that gets under your skin. How easy it is to believe something when all the pieces are convincing. When someone knows exactly what to say, how to act, what details to include. Since then, I haven't really gone back on dating apps. Every now and then I think about trying again, but I always remember her face, that fake, perfectly animated, probably AI-generated face smiling at me through a screen like it meant something. And I just close the app. So, this all started because I downloaded this random dating app that my roommate kept talking about. Not one of the big ones. This was some niche app that supposedly focused on deep connections and matching based on personality rather than looks. Honestly, I didn't expect much. I was just bored one night, scrolling on my phone while waiting for my laundry to finish. You know how it is, you tell yourself you're just going to look, not swipe, and then suddenly you're 10 profiles deep comparing Spotify playlists with strangers. Anyway, I wasn't really looking for anything serious, but then I came across this guy. His name was Evan. He looked normal, not supermodel hot or anything, but the kind of guy who clearly knew how to dress and seemed like he actually read books. His profile stood out because it was really well written, funny, kind of sarcastic in a harmless way, and just weird enough to feel genuine. Like he had this one line about how his childhood dog used to bark at the vacuum like it owed him money. It made me laugh harder than it should have. He also mentioned he was into obscure indie music, loved rainy days, and hated small talk. I don't know. It felt familiar, in a weird way. I swiped right. We matched instantly, like literally 2 seconds later. And I thought, okay, maybe the algorithm is good on this app or something. So we started talking. At first it was casual. Normal stuff. What do you do? Where are you from? That kind of thing. But very quickly, it felt like he already knew how to talk to me. Like the conversations were flowing too easily. He knew how to keep a text thread alive in that way. Most people don't. He even recommended a song I'd been obsessed with in high school but hadn't thought about in years. I actually laughed out loud and asked him how he knew about it. He said he just had good taste. It got weirder from there. The more we talked, the more things started to line up. Like, not in a cute, oh wow, we have so much in common way, but in a, this feels copy-pasted from someone else's life way. He told me his favorite movie was Eternal Sunshine. He made the exact same joke about how he only drinks oat milk because dairy hates him personally, and he said he loved rainy Sundays with coffee and sad playlists. All of these were things my ex used to say. Not just similar, identical. Down to the phrasing. At first I thought, okay, maybe I just have a type. Maybe I'm projecting. But then I started really looking at his profile again, and something just clicked. It was my ex's profile. I'm not even kidding. Like, word for word in some places. The jokes, the little random facts, even the photo style. He had a picture with a cat that wasn't his, posing like he hated it, which was something my ex did once on purpose, as a joke. Even the way he listed his music favorites, it was the exact same bands, in the same order. And it wasn't like they were mainstream artists. We're talking super niche, barely on Spotify kind of stuff. I thought maybe I was losing it. So I went digging. I still had screenshots of my ex's old profile. Don't ask why, I just never deleted them. I pulled them up and compared them side by side. Identical. I didn't know what to do. I hadn't talked to my ex in months. We didn't part on bad terms, but we definitely weren't friends. I considered messaging him to ask if he knew this guy, but that felt dramatic. I mean, maybe it was just a weird coincidence? But I couldn't leave it alone. So the next time I talked to Evan, I casually brought it up. I said something like, "Hey, you remind me a lot of someone I used to date. It's kind of uncanny." He responded right away. Not even a pause. He said, "Yeah, I know. I'm better." No emojis. No lol. Just that. And I sat there staring at my phone for a solid 5 minutes because what the hell does that even mean? I didn't reply. I didn't know how to. I just kind of ghosted the conversation and didn't open the app again for a couple of days. When I finally did, his profile was gone. Like completely. Not unmatched. Just totally deleted. Like he never existed. No chat history. No nothing. And that made it worse somehow. I ended up making a burner account and trying to find him again. I even searched by location and swiped through what felt like hundreds of people. Nothing. It was like he just vanished. I eventually gave up, but the whole thing stuck with me. And here's the weirdest part. About a week after all that, I got a package in the mail. No return address. Inside was a vinyl record. A super rare pressing of one of those obscure bands we'd both talked about. The same band my ex and I used to listen to on long drives. No note. No explanation. I asked everyone I knew if they'd sent it. Nobody had. I even messaged my ex and asked him if he was playing some kind of joke. He just said no and blocked me right after. So, that was fun. I still don't know who Evan really was. Whether he actually knew my ex, or if he somehow found his profile and copied it for some insane reason. Or maybe it was my ex messing with me. I don't know. And I guess I never will. But I deleted the app that night. Threw out the record, too. Not because I was scared or anything. It just felt tainted. Like something I wasn't supposed to keep. And that was the last time I tried dating online.